Hello and welcome to Creating Canon with your hosts AJ Hamilton and New York population zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean...
that's a bit of a spoiler.
Yeah, well, I mean, New York population zombies. You could have... I mean, that wasn't...
Oh, no,
your
give me notes.
best one.
No, it's not.
It was no necromancer pie fight. But it's pretty good. I like it. I do like it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you liked it.
Nicholas C. Pappas!
And Nicholas C. Pappas. Nick, what are we doing this week?
Well, AJ, we are doing the 1979 Lucio Fulci's film Zombi.
Oh.
And if you're in Europe, it's called Zombie 2. And they take away the E and replace the E with a 2 because, that's...
Because E equals 2.
No, E equals MC squared, dipshit.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is, again, we are still on our zombie Shocktober journey, although I think this episode is airing in Shockvember, as we'll call it.
No zombie.
No,
because there is zombies.
Zombie, yeah. That's okay.
Zomvember.
Zomvember. Yeah, this is our first episode of Zomvember after our Shocktober.
There it is.
This is definitely in the land of cannon fodder. This is not a canon film. But Nick, how can you be doing this? Well,
yeah, Nick.
I think it's really important to note that the music for Zombie was done by Fabio Frizzi.
Oh, Fabio Frizzi,
who, of course, did The Beyond, City of the Living Dead, A Cat in the Brain, A Manhattan Baby, all Lucio Fulci films.
Right.
But he also did the canon films Aladdin, a.k.a. Super Fantagenio.
One of my favorites.
Yep, and Bridge to Hell, which is also one of your favorites. And the writer, Elsa Briganti, also wrote Aladdin.
Oh.
Super Fantagenio. And The House by the Cemetery and Manhattan Baby. And the other writer, Dardando Sacchetti. Amongst making the movies, writing the movies Devilfish, Killer Crocodile, he also wrote Cat o' Nine Tails for Dario Argento.
That's a Giallo film, right?
Yep, Cat o' Nine Tails is nice. Giallo. So is New York Ripper and Don't Torture Duckling, which are both Lucio Fulci films.
Oh, lovely.
And I believe New York Ripper was written by Sacchetti,
okay.
along with City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, House by the Cemetery, which are a trio of zombie movies made by Fulci.
Okay.
He also did Manhattan Baby, Demons 2, and Super Fantagenio!
I love Bud Spencer.
I know.
He's my favorite. He's my favorite.
I am the genie of the lamp. So yeah, this movie does definitely have its hooks, its tendrils, if you will, in what I would call the canon universe.
Right.
So not only is this a really great cannon fodder film in that I don't think Fabio Frizzi has put his best foot forward with Aladdin and Bridge to Hell.
Fair to say.
But what did you think of his score in this movie, being the more quote-unquote like classic Frizzi scores?
I mean, I kind of miss the Super Fantagenio theme. With Bud Spencer singing it over it. But I think it was almost spot on. There was one very odd transition that was very upbeat music. It came from discordant music in the previous scene. Then it cut to them riding their boat out in the bay, which was, it was very festive, but it didn't seem like it should be that quick of a change in tone.
I know what you're talking about.
And then it went right back.
Because it went to, like, the Caribbean, like, the very stereotypical...
Yeah, sort of...
the Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid, yes, exactly.
Also, I told AJ that music was the same exact music in Weekend at Bernie's, too.
That's right.
Yet another zombie movie.
Yes,
that's
true.
Think about it.
With voodoo and such.
Yes, voodoo and such. I'm not going to admit this to anyone, but I might have just watched Weekend at Bernie's 2 less than a week ago.
Possibly.
I did. I actually did.
How does that feel in your heart?
Well, I will tell you this. It holds up.
Okay.
It was terrible when I was younger. It's pretty terrible now.
Great.
I also enjoyed myself.
But I'm sure it's fun.
It is a movie.
There you go.
It's fine.
Ringing endorsement.
It's fine. But yeah, so this movie does feel like true canon fodder in that many of the people who worked on this worked on canon films, and just the fact that it completes. Well, it doesn't quite complete. I think we're going to do one more zombie movie. But we'll wait for the end of the episode to find out. But yeah, this sort of completes, brings us nearer to the end of our zombie extravaganza. So.
And, I mean, multi-month extravaganza.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to, by the end of this, span, 7 episodes?
6, yeah, 7,
This is
I
amazing.
think. Yeah, but, as we always do,
yes.
let's jump into the plot, sir.
The plot.
Because this is a little like the Night of the Living Dead's. We've been sort of joking with people saying, "Oh, you should know this. This is a pretty famous thing." But this is a probably less known, still famous, I would say, as more of a cult classic, but
yeah, I think if you're like a cinnamon nerd, or if you're like a
cinnamon nerd,
I
really like the cinnamon challenge.
Yes, exactly, cinnamon nerd.
Yes.
If you're a cinema nerd,
there you go.
Or if you are like a gore hound,
sure.
Or a horror, like a deep cut horror movie,
or a
fan.
blood bunny,
or
I think that's a thing, right?
Well, gorehound is an actual
I
thing.
know.
Blood bunny, you know what? I won't even go there. Isn't that how they used to tell if a woman was on her period?
No.
Oh, that's if they could tell they were pregnant.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's it. Oh boy. Yeah, if you are into the deep dark corners of cult cinema, you know Zombie.
Totally.
You've seen Zombie, but if you are not, this is probably a what the fuck is that movie kind of a thing. So, real quick plot summary is basically a boat arrives in the harbor in New York City.
Right.
On that boat is a zombie.
The spooky zombie.
A spooky zombie.
Very.
They call the daughter of the owner of the boat to say, "Where is your father?"
Mm-hmm.
She says, "I haven't spoken to him."
Yeah.
And then she teams up with a reporter to go to a small island called Matul.
Yes.
And there, she and the reporter and a couple of people they hired to take them to the island.
Yeah, I mean, they just find them at the docks.
Yes, basically. Find a zombie-ridden island. And that's basically it. They just, there's a doctor on the island trying to figure out the cause of the recent epidemic of the undead that's happening.
Yeah.
And they are just kind of caught there.
Yeah.
The end.
The end.
Like, there's not much of a plot to this movie.
No, I believe that, I mean, not to say that they're uninteresting or uncomplicated plots, but I think the zombie movie genre in general, you don't put a whole bunch of other complicated stories on top of it. Typically. I mean, a lot of times it's searching for a loved one or searching for a cure, but that's very rare.
Yeah.
A lot of times
it's
just survival. Yes, exactly.
Although I would argue that like Dawn and Night both have a little bit more, like those feel a little more meaty than these ones. And maybe I'm wrong, but this one just feels like they're just sort of there and then they sort of run away. Whereas I don't know. It's hard to explain.
They have. It feels like they have less agency than a lot of the other characters in the Romero series.
Well, and I think part of that comes down to, and we were kind of talking about it as the movie was playing, and we're kind of skipping towards the end here, but we'll just go straight there and then kind of maybe loop back around to the beginning.
Sure.
But the characters in this movie seem a little more dumb.
Less capable,
but also I think the thing about this movie that's really different than the Romero movies is the characters in this movie are just completely overrun like almost immediately, whereas in both Dawn and Night, in Night of the Living Dead, they have seemingly 6-7 hours to like build up and
to prep and
everything,
defend their position.
Dawn, they've got days and
seems
weeks
like
maybe. In this movie, they're sort of
and they also have a safety. Well, the other two have a place that is safe. They have a bit of a base of operations initially.
Sure.
Like they have to clear it out maybe or something like that, but they have somewhere to come back to. This one,
well, the other thing, I'm sorry to
interrupt.
Say, and you're right, and I just wanted to jump on that of like, in the other ones, that safety place is actually already, like, it's not overrun by zombies.
Right.
Whereas this one, the only place of safety is already filled with zombies when they get there.
It's a bad position to be in.
Yeah.
And also they are in a less developed area. I mean, they're in the jungle.
Yes, they are definitely in a jungle
with buildings that are made out of simple wood
and bamboo
that can be
and
stuff.
Easily broken.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So I think that they first of all have a disadvantage.
Yes.
And second of all, Ben in Night of the Living Dead, both versions that we've 2 out of the 3 versions that we've talked about has been
2 out of the 3.
Right, has been a very intelligent character.
Yes.
He's very methodical.
Right.
And also, I was thinking about Dawn of the Dead, and we've got 2 cops, a pilot, and a news reporter, who all seem very headstrong and also just logical.
Yes, 100%.
These people, one's a news reporter, I don't know what the other...
A daughter?
Anne? Yeah, a daughter. She doesn't get much more development than that.
Played by Tisa Farrow, Mia Farrow's sister.
Yeah.
Who was in another cult movie called Andropopagus.
Huh.
I probably butchered that.
Never
I
heard of that.
just bought it on Blu-ray, like, literally 2 days ago.
Oh, what's it about?
I think
Any
it's
idea?
Like another, like, zombie movie.
Okay, cool.
I don't know it. I haven't watched it yet. I know very little about it.
That's exciting.
But I've heard amongst the cult film fans, which I count me as one.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I haven't heard of that, but it sounds great.
Nice.
It also appeared in Manhattan.
I think as a waitress or someone at a party or something
right?
like that.
I just thought it was interesting that we have another Pharaoh included in the Woody Allen
canon.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yep.
Other type of canon.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and she's really not given much more development than being the daughter of the man whose boat came in.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at is that her and the man and also these 2 other people,
Brian and Susan,
and the news reporter being Peter West, played by Ian McCulloch. McCulloch? Sure.
Who was in Zombie Holocaust, by the way.
Oh!
A.K.A. Dr. Butcher.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's cool. But none of them seem to be survivalists.
No.
They don't seem to be preppers. They don't seem to be any type of... Well, and they're blindsided by this zombie thing. A lot of the stuff that we've seen in the previous 2 stories is that they're in the world and they're kind of finding out about it without it directly affecting them immediately.
Yeah.
And then running from it and then having time to prep. These people are like, what the fuck's a zombie?
Right. In some ways, yeah. Because I think in Night of the Living Dead, for example, Johnny and Barbara are attacked by zombies
at the cemetery. Yeah.
And then Ben tells the story of what it was like at the
gas
diner
station,
or gas station.
Yeah, the diner.
Gas station. So they've already survived one attack when they go and get sort of like calmed down. The zombies attack, and then it's a relentless attack.
Yeah, exactly.
Until the end,
and they're just doing their best.
Yeah,
they know what Molotov cocktails are, and that's lucky.
And I guess in that sense, you're right. Like, it is unfair to call these characters dumb, kind of, but also, they're come upon so fast that they make. And you can see how they do it because it feels real to life, but they make bad decisions because they don't have time to pre-plan anything.
Yeah, the script really puts them into a corner.
Yes.
It really just gives them the least amount of prep time, the least amount of resources.
Totally.
And gets, like, when they have a car, they immediately smash it.
Right.
When they have an ankle, they immediately break it. When they...
But the plot line of this movie being that boat comes into harbor.
That was the coolest thing.
What I was just going to say really quickly, though, is that it's interesting because this wouldn't necessarily be what I would consider part of, like, the zombie trilogy that Fulci has, which is The Beyond, City of the Living Dead, and The House by the Cemetery.
Okay.
And in all 3 of those movies, the basic plot line, it's very similar in that woman gets a house from a great aunt. She knows nothing about it. Okay. She goes to the house, and it's on top of
a graveyard or something.
It's on top of the gates of hell. And there's like zombies there.
Fun.
And then another one is a reporter and a policeman and a psychic I think is what it is, if I remember correctly. That's City of the Living Dead. Find out about this thing, and they go and explore what it is. The house by the cemetery.
Yeah.
A couple buys a house by a cemetery.
No.
There's stuff going on. They go explore what it is. So
stop exploring things.
It's basically the same plot line in all four of those movies, and I think it's just kind of an interesting thing to think about.
I see. Yeah, that makes
but
sense.
The first gore shot in this movie is 20 seconds in. I mean, literally, the movie starts with a zombie waking up in a bag, close-up of a gun, and then the zombie getting shot, and in the dark you hear a man say, "The boat can leave now. Tell the crew." And we immediately cut to a shot of a boat in the New York harbor completely abandoned.
Yeah.
And that's what... And I'll let you pick up from there.
Yeah. It's so haunting to see this boat just rocking back and forth and heading into the bay with beer bottles scattered everywhere,
Coke cans rolling
doors
across the
doors
deck.
opening and closing just on their own. The wind taking the sails back and forth. It's very, with the bustling that you think of related to New York, to have this lifeless thing in the middle of the bay just outside of it is quite an interesting visual, and they stay on it. They hold on all of the different natural shots of the wind blowing through.
And for a long time. Again, ramping up tension in an interesting way. And then another boat comes in.
They send out the Coast Guard.
Because, the boat almost hits a ferry. It almost hits other boats. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
Right.
So one of the guys from the Coast Guard goes down below the deck. And again, in Lucio Fulci fashion, we get...
Say that 3 times fast.
I know, right? Bugs and rotting flesh effects, almost immediately.
There's a bunch of millipedes on a piano?
Yep. Just gross in there. Later on in this movie, there's, worms and maggots coming out of someone's eye.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes ever is in City of the Living Dead, where there is basically almost like a satanic, devil preacher.
Okay.
Who's trying to open the gates of hell.
Right. As you do.
Causes a maggot storm. And they dumped and threw into fans. It was something like 45 pounds of live maggots at these 4 actors.
Ugh.
And they were just in their faces, in their hair, in their mouths. The floor was like a brown carpet in that scene.
Oh my God.
And it was completely covered white with live maggots.
The floor is lava. Don't touch it.
It's one of the most disgusting scenes I've ever seen filmed.
That's horrifying.
And Christopher George, who was the star of that movie, and Lucio Fulci hated each other.
After that?
Oh my God. And there were stories about how Christopher George would put maggots in Fulci's tobacco pouch, so when he went to go roll a cigarette, there'd be maggots in the tobacco.
As revenge for making them do that?
No, they just hated each other for other reasons. It had nothing to do with that scene. But yeah,
so it was all just maggot war.
It became a maggot war.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so Fulci, long story short, loves maggots.
Okay,
and
loves
they also,
any creepy crawly.
Yeah, well, and he also has that Italian horror speed at which he films.
Oh my God, yes.
Is both slow and great in the way it builds suspense.
The long shots are...
Well, yeah, and that scene in the morgue where the camera goes from one morgue attendant to another morgue attendant down to the zombie. To the 2 morgue attendants in a 2-shot, to the tray on the table, back to the 2-shot to the zombie head, down to the zombie's feet.
And then it starts moving.
But there must have been 20 camera moves in this 2-minute shot.
Yeah.
And that's very Fulci as well. Also the close-up of the eyes.
Right.
Eye close-ups.
Oh, he loves that on all of his zombies. They all get a hero shot.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and so do, as people are terrified, the camera comes in and just locks right on the eyes.
Oh my goodness.
And I believe it's in either City of the Living Dead or House by the Cemetery. There's some great shots where there's an entire conversation that lasts 4 minutes that is just from the top of the eyebrows to the tip of the nose on eyes, just cutting back and forth from eyes to eyes to eyes, which is it's both beautiful and frustrating.
Yeah, on
I know
purpose.
I'm talking about a lot of other movies in this, but I think it's important to know Fulci style, because I think that's really what this movie is. It's his style.
Yeah.
Sorry, I took us way down the road.
There's so many different interesting visuals in this as well. I mean, you're talking about the zoom-ins and stuff like that. There's a very interesting thing that he does. The zombies get a POV.
Yes,
I thought that quite a number of times. I think that
down to like dirt and worms falling off the camera.
Absolutely, POV. Yes. It starts with the one that attacks the Coast Guard fellow.
Yes.
There's a bunch on the island. You're right, like the ones that are coming to life out of the graves.
Yep.
It's brilliant. Also, I think skipping to the next really interesting point was when Anne meets Peter.
Oh, wait, before that, sorry, just really quickly, one thing we should mention is the zombie on the boat.
Oh,
in this first scene is shot by one of the Coast Guard guys in the stomach and in the chest, and he falls off into the water.
Yes.
And they can't find the body. They can't recover the body. So yes, then we cut to
real quick scene of Peter being told to investigate the boat.
Yep.
Which we're not sure why it's a big story.
Two cool, fascinating parts about that.
Yes.
Fulci plays the guy telling him to investigate the boat.
He does.
Yep. And second, that was shot in a busy office building, and the cast and crew interrupted a meeting of Rupert Murdoch's. And Rupert Murdoch was pissed and kicked them out.
Screw you, Murdoch.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty awesome.
Oh, excellent. That's awesome.
Anytime I feel like Rupert Murdoch has a bad day, even if it was years ago,
score.
I am happy about it.
But after that, Anne, the daughter, goes to the boat, sees that it's being watched by a policeman. She sneaks aboard.
Yep.
And there is the coolest... They do some amazing things with lighting in this movie as well. And this is one of the first times they do it. I mean, not the first time, but this was my favorite part. I mean, the person who says the boat can leave now at the very beginning is all in shadow with light coming out behind him.
Which is crazy because we see that same exact scene again later on,
in
in the light.
Different. And it changes the scene so much. But when she's down in the boat, it's nighttime. And since the boat is rocking back and forth, and there are different sources of light outside, it keeps getting very dark on her and then coming back into the light.
Yep.
And it's so mesmerizing the way it just naturally does that. And then as she's walking through the boat, she gets a hand clamped on her mouth.
It comes out of nowhere, and that makes you kind of jump a little bit. Because you're like, fuck, zombie.
Yeah. And then she and Peter has snuck aboard the boat as well, and he says, don't scream, because you don't want the guy outside to know that you're in here, or me to know
I'm here either. And you're safe. I'm not going to hurt you.
Exactly.
I only grabbed you because if you saw me, you would have screamed.
And during the rest of that scene, the light is still doing that. Yeah. It's so cool.
And I also love the way, because like there's a lamp that falls over, and the guy outside hears it, and he's like, sort of like, follow my lead, and they start making out on the boat.
That's brilliant.
The guy comes in, and the guy's like, what the hell are you two doing here? And they're like, she wants to get laid, and this is what she wanted, and, you know, I'm fine with a boxcar. Any port in a storm, I don't give a shit. But she demanded we do it by the water. And the cop watching the boat, rather than be like, okay, you know, you're coming down, he's like, get the fuck out. Just get out of here.
You kids.
And he's able to get out.
30-something kids.
Seriously.
Silly.
And when they get out, Peter is like, hey, I got this letter from your dad, and I think that's why you're here.
Yeah. Well, didn't he find it aboard the boat?
Yes, he found it aboard the boat.
Yeah.
But he basically at that moment is like, you know,
you want to go to the Dominican Republic?
Yep. You want to come with me to Matol? And she's like, yeah, I guess. We'll find out what happened to my dad.
Yeah.
And the plot starts.
And there you go.
Another thing I think they do well is when, so they arrive on the island. Also cool to see like New York Airport. I don't know what airport that 70s? Was, but to see New York Airport back in the 70s was
oh my
cool.
God, it had these relaxing, reclining, like big red seats.
Like leather booth seat things. It was really interesting. Anyways, when they get to the island, they don't get to Matol immediately. They go to an island near Matol. I think it was St. Thomas.
Yeah.
And they have to get a boat to get to Matol. Mm-hmm. So they go up to these two people who we mentioned earlier were Brian and Susan. And they're like, hey, you going out? And they're like, yeah, sure, you know, you just got to pay. But it was pretty cool that when, I don't know if you caught it, but like, they're like, what island are you going to? And they said Matol. And Brian was like,
We don't really love hanging around those.
Yeah, like we don't. There's a lot of local lore about that island that you don't want to be there. And but like I just thought because he seemed really friendly, and then when Second Mattol was mentioned, the tone changed.
Right.
Which I thought was one of those really subtle, small things where you're like, you kind of lean in and you're like, oh, okay.
Something's going on there.
Yeah, that's pretty great. That's pretty cool.
And yeah.
They get on the boat, they go on their way to Mattol, and then we're introduced to Dr. Maynard.
Dr. Maynard and his wife.
Well, that mirror introduction.
Oh.
Talk about that.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
Gorgeous.
He's trying to call the mainland, and they are cut off for we don't know how. And it looks like he is across the desk from somebody.
Yes.
In somewhere else. And then the camera rolls back, and it's him in a mirror. And it's
a cool
beautiful
shot.
And also it's sectioned mirror. It's like
yes.
little 3x3 cuts of glass. Very interesting.
And it just
gives a great
shot.
visual.
Yeah.
And actually that comes back later because there's a great choreographed fight between he and his wife. She's frustrated about being on the island, and he's abusive.
She's afraid that the zombies, because they know the zombie, like the reason Maynard is
weird
there
is happening, is
to figure out what's going on with the zombies,
right?
But they're on the opposite side of the island. All zombies are on the opposite of the island,
right?
And she's like, when are they going to get here? When are they coming to our side? When are they coming to our side?
Yeah.
And she has a major freak out about it,
right? And while they're fighting about it, he actually decks her,
which is not cool.
Not cool. But when they get close again, you can actually see, you can't see the camera, surprisingly, but you can see them in the foreground, and then in the background, there are their reflections in the mirror way back in another room, and it felt like that didn't even cut. I think maybe it did, but the way that it was choreographed was beautiful and didn't feel like it was extraneous at all.
No, just again, so many cool shots in this. Another cool shot happens like almost immediately after when the four and Peter, Brian, and Susan are on the boat.
Yep,
they're looking for the island, and they look out, and they're like, they're like, oh, I think I see an island, because they think they're lost. I think I see an island, and we can kind of see an island on the horizon, and then the camera pulls back. Like it zooms out to where
the bow of the ship,
and all of a sudden you can't see that island on the horizon anymore. Like you lose it, which I thought was just another interesting shot of like, fuck, that's great.
Yeah.
Not only is it far away, but I bet that's how that feels when you're that far out. It's like I can kind of see something, but I'm not sure.
Maybe that's a mirage. I don't know.
And that's what it sort of felt
hoping.
Like. But this is. Probably the most infamous scene in this movie.
This and the scene with the wife later on.
Yes.
It's probably iconically visual. Yeah.
Nude scuba diving.
Nude scuba diving.
Not that part. That's not the part that's iconic.
Right. That's this part. Well.
Yeah. But leads to the part that's iconic.
Yeah. She decides.
She being Susan Brian's...
the wife or girlfriend of the one who owns the boat.
Yes.
She goes down underwater to take some pictures. And then, dun 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 dun.
Tiger shark.
Oh no, it's a big tiger shark.
She's freaking out about the tiger shark.
She goes and she swims up to the top and yells at them that this is happening.
Yes.
Then she swims back down to hide among the reef.
Right.
Which was great. I don't know if that would work, if a tiger shark is fooled by that.
Sure.
But she backs up.
And all of a sudden a hand comes out.
Oh, what?
And grabs her.
What?
An underwater zombie.
Underwater zombie.
So she kind of fights off the underwater zombie.
Using coral.
Yeah, by grabbing coral and like scoring its face.
Yes.
That was really smart and cool.
So good.
And then the zombie sort of breaks away. Mm-hmm. And then the zombie and the shark fight.
Zombie shark fight.
It was filmed so fucking cool.
I don't understand. There are some things about
we kind of looked this up to figure out how it was filmed.
My God.
There was no CGI and there was no money in the budget for a fancy animatronic like Jaws. So they used a real fucking ass tiger shark.
My God.
And the tiger shark is one of the most dangerous shark species.
Neat.
So what they did was they the shark had a trainer named Ramon Bravo.
Was that the one who was playing the zombie?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been.
It feels like that would have to be.
It feels like it would have had to be, but it doesn't. I couldn't find any information on that specifically. Right. But they fed that shark as much as possible.
Okay.
And then went ahead
it all logy.
And then it went ahead and doped up that shark with sedatives. But that was just a real fucking actor.
Wow.
Fighting a shark, and it's a long scene. And they're ripping
very long.
chunks.
The guy doesn't have a rebreather or anything. He takes chunks out of the
shark. The shark
of course,
bites his arm off.
Of course, they're probably quick shots cut together, obviously.
Well, there's actually one section. And
that is very
that was
long.
Probably, if I had to guess, 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But what ends up happening is, like, the camera sort of follows the shark for a second.
Yeah.
And the zombie sort of moves off screen, and the zombie moves back.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet what ended up happening
Two of them?
was...
Two zombies?
Okay. He had a breather off screen.
Oh, interesting.
The second he was off screen, he took a huge breath and then went back and fought the zombie.
That would be a great trick.
And I know it sounds ridiculous to be like, zombie versus shark fight.
So cool.
Like, it's... Because it sounds like it's something you would see on, like, the Sci-Fi Channel. Like, Sharktopus kind of a thing. And so dumb. This was fucking badass.
Yeah, he's like grabbing the shark, like giving a bear hug and taking chunks out of it. And then he like almost rides it.
Yeah.
And
the shark's eating his arm.
Just like ripping his arm off.
And there's just like a trail of blood.
So good.
Oh, it's so good. Well, and I think actually, to go back to why that scene was fucking badass.
Yeah.
It's because it was obviously real.
Yes,
I think
all practical.
Yeah, I think if I would have known that it was CGI, or if like you could tell that it would be CGI, I'd be like, "Fucking shark versus zombie. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen." But it's real.
Yeah,
so it's cool.
When the first exposure I had to this was actually a T-shirt. Funny enough,
of course,
it was my old roommate Travis's shirt.
Shout out to Travis.
That's right. He is a listener.
Oh,
so
good for Travis.
Absolutely.
He's a smart man.
And it's this beautifully animated shot of the shark ripping the arm off of the zombie, and zombie coming out.
Is it the same one with the nude scuba girl in the background a little bit?
I think so. I think it is.
That's
yeah.
a pretty famous shirt.
Exactly.
It's a great shirt.
Yeah. And I was like, what is that movie? And he was like, oh, it's Zombie. Man, you got to check it out. And I was like, I will eventually, and here we are.
Here we are for the podcast. What a great way to check out this movie.
Absolutely.
Directly after the zombie versus shark,
yes,
we go back to Maynard's wife, who's nude in the shower.
Yeah.
And you're like,
that scene.
Okay, whatever. And mirrors again while she's in the shower.
Yep.
But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you realize you're seeing the scene through the window.
Yeah.
And slowly creeps in, out of focus, a hand, and it just presses against the window. And as the hand presses against the window, it rack focuses,
right?
And it's a gnarled zombie hand.
Yep.
And it just holds the window, and then it just sort of slides down. She doesn't see it, but it's one of those moments where, like, immediately for like the next 5 minutes, we're like, oh fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk us through the scene, because there was a couple moments where you were like, holy shit!
Oh, this is an expert in tension building.
Yep.
So
expert in filming
in everything. So she sees the zombie.
Well, she hears something. She hears something. She's freaking out.
She runs into an adjoining room.
Yep. She tries to close the door, but the door won't close.
But the door is being, and then eventually you can't see what she's pushing against, but eventually 4 little fingers come out of the door slit. And then it zooms over, and I thought this was a mistake. I really honestly did. But the camera pans to the right, just to the wall.
Just a white fucking wall.
And you're like, what is happening? And then you see the edge. So, as everyone knows, when a door opens and there's light on the other side of it, the light it's cut off in a very odd way. Yeah. Well, we see the reflection of the light growing to the right of the... It's very hard to describe, but it's...
Well, what you see is the shadow of the door opening and closing on the wall.
Right.
And like you see it grow and then close and grow
her
and then
struggling
close.
with it, but it is only demonstrated by the light shadow on the wall.
Which is such a cool... It feels almost Hitchcockian.
Yeah.
In that, where it's like... It's one of those stark reminders of like, you actually don't need to see anything.
No.
Other than
because
like the door opening,
there's
closing.
the setup, And then if you looked at the wall the entire time, you would know the result. Because if it's all light, then you know that the zombie has gotten in.
Yep.
But the light goes away and slams, and
that's eventually what happens.
Yes, and she slams it on the fingers.
And the four fingers fall off, and you're like, oh, good, she's safe. And
she's safe, she locks it up.
She sort of like leans on the door.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, here's Zombie, breaks through.
Yes.
Shatters the door.
Yeah.
And chunks the door. Grabs her by the shoulder, back of the head, turns her around so she's like almost face to face with the zombie. And the zombie grabs her by the back of the head and pulls her towards it. And there's a huge splinter sticking outside of the door. Like, when I say splinter, I mean like just a chunk of splintered wood.
Towards her face.
And it slowly, we watch as that thing is probably like millimeters from her face.
Unflinching.
Uh-huh.
And it actually shows, spoilers if you're a little squeamish, but...
For reals, what we're about to describe is super gross. We'll give you a 4 count of music if you want to skip forward about 35 seconds. We warned you.
It shows her eye get dragged into the splinter.
So
it does not stop there, because it just
continues
obliterates the
into
eye.
her brain.
Continues into the brain, continues like ripping the side of her face off.
Yes.
And you then see her, it used to be from the side that you were seeing that, and then it just switches camera angles to the front of her, and he just drags her through the door. Or he or she or whoever the zombie drags her through the door.
Oh, so cool.
God damn, man.
This movie,
it's rough to watch.
Compared to Dawn of the Dead, there's less quote-unquote kills in it.
Yeah.
But they are more brutal, more gory.
And more unflinching. Like I said, I mean, he stays on the gore longer. I think...
Which is why the Gorehounds love this movie.
That's right. And the Blood Bunnies. That's right. I don't know... I don't think that... I think Tom Savini and whoever did the special effects for this are definitely both masters of their craft.
Yes.
But I think that they realized that they were, I guess, able to stay on these because these feel gorier.
This is Gianetto De Rossi.
Gianetto De Rossi.
Yeah, that's what he did the makeup effects on this.
Okay. But it just feels like as much as we get to see of the Savini special effects, I feel like the style of cutting in American cinema at the time was quicker than Italian, and therefore some of the special effects didn't need to be so good, or they had to, or well, I guess it was also maybe the MPAA that required them to cut it down.
No, they didn't actually, because in
that's right, it was unrated. That's right.
What I'm assuming it is Savini could have done the effects that are in Zombie no problem.
Oh yeah,
it's
of course.
Just that Romero probably didn't want to lovingly
stay on
those shots like Fulci did. Right?
That's true.
Like Fulci wanted to be on those shots and just wanted to like almost make them sexy in a horribly disgusting way.
And it does.
And I'm wondering if some of that is like the reality of certain European cinema at the time.
Okay.
The long, loving shots.
Sure. That
kind of stuff. You're right. It's a different kind of filming style.
And also, I think that, if I read correctly, there was some gore effects with Savini that he was, like, whipping up on the day.
Yes.
Like, they were almost improving what action was going to be taken on the day, and therefore, not to say that it was bad in any way, but that it might have been... it would do well with a short take.
Yeah, I mean...
than these, which seem like each one of these gore-fest pieces seem like they were very planned out.
Oh, they
like
had to have been.
The throat ripping out, like the bites out of the arms. They just felt more deliberate. I think.
Yeah.
I think that might be it.
I actually had read somewhere that Romero, and this was not too long before Romero died, so, this is fairly recently, Romero basically said... if we're up to Tom, meaning Savini, we'd still be shooting Dawn of the Dead because he was just always like, oh, we should add this, or like, oh, there's that cool thing over there, and if I take this and that and the other thing. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot being made up on the day where like you can't make up the stuff that happens in this movie on the day.
Yeah, again, this is, well, especially with the hordes of zombies that they
Yes.
have in Dawn of the Dead, and all of the bikers and
Yes.
everything, all of the chaos that's going on, versus this, which seems very linear, almost.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, the gore shots in this are so good. And they're tough. They're tough, but they're also strangely beautiful. I don't know how to phrase that right. Like,
No,
do you agree?
I absolutely do. I mean, the reverence given, I mean, to the wife's body when the four leads see her again.
Oh well.
I know that we're skipping ahead, but I think
we're actually not skipping too far, because when they find Mrs. Maynard's body, I mean, it's so gory.
And also, it's weird because the 4 or 5 zombies that are surrounding her are kneeling. It's
yes.
There are religious subtexts in this, in all zombie movies, I think.
Probably.
But in this, it was very odd because she was splayed out almost like a sacrifice, and all of the zombies were
eating her.
And they were also in smocks of some sort that kind of looked religious.
Well, I don't
know.
think they were in smocks. So I think so part of this movie, the zombie lore in this movie is different than the Night of the Living Dead series.
True.
The zombie lore in this movie is more akin to like the true Haitian voodoo zombie than like the
and they say something
space zombie
from Neptune.
Neptune.
Well, they also say something to the effect of it's a combination of Catholicism and the ancient beliefs of Africa.
Well, that is what voodoo is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what voodoo comes from. Is sadly, the truth is, when the slaves were brought here, they were forced to follow Catholicism and the saints.
Right.
And what the Africans did very smartly was said, okay, well, this saint that you're talking about is actually like our god this.
Right.
So we'll say saint such and such.
Interesting.
But we mean this.
Yep.
And it was sort of like the blending of two religions into one thing that then became its own very specific religion in Haiti and in the Caribbean area.
Right, yeah. But the reverence almost that the zombies are giving the body is very odd. Like they are.
Well, they're also eyes closed. Like the zombies in this movie are eyes closed, head down. Like so, maybe this another way of phrasing is in Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Dead, they're sort of reanimated corpses.
Yes.
In this, they are just dead, and they have like a spell put on them to bring them out of the grave to make them do the thing.
And we never figure out who is doing the spell or whatever.
Never.
But the one part that we skipped is after the shark attack, they are stranded out in the ocean for some reason on one side of the island, and they shoot flares up in the old.
This is our 4 leads.
Yeah, exactly. They shoot flares up into the air, and Dr. Maynard comes,
basically grabs them,
brings them back. They don't even. He doesn't even show them getting off the boat and getting in his car. He's
Maynard's
just
in the car
driving.
Well, and there's this awesome moment too. Just to throw this out, Maynard's interrupted. He's bringing a body to a grave with his nurse, who you called
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey. She looks a little like Ronda Rousey. And there's this great moment where he's like, this body just died. And what happens is, as the bodies die, he's trying to take care of the people in this
He's
tribe.
trying to be very respectful of the bodies.
But as they die, he shoots them in the head because they're zombies.
Yeah, and he ties them up, ties them to the beds.
Yeah, so when he brings this body out there's this really great shot of... He brings this body to a grave, and you think he's going to bury a body. And it's a long time where, like, he's carrying the body with the nurse, and then he goes to get the 4. Like, he finds out the 4 there. He goes to get the 4, and then somebody else who looks like a black Dom DeLuise...
A little bit,
picks up the thing, and they carry this body on a stretcher, the nurse and him, brings it over, and then, like, rolls it into a grave. And as he rolls into the grave, the camera pans over, and you see there's, like, 9 bodies in this grave.
Yeah.
And it is such a cool reveal.
Yeah.
It's such a cool reveal. But what I was going to say is, like, when we talk about the zombies, when the zombies have that, like, garment and everything, that's because they have been buried in, like, a traditional way.
Sure, of course.
So they are in traditional buried, like, religious garb.
Oh, interesting.
So when they come back, I don't know if they're trying to quote unquote show reverence necessarily.
No, I mean
It's
not
just that
actively, but they
reference
do.
has been showed to them.
Sure, but even the way they are eating is almost it's like they're around a
It's not the frenzied eating.
Yes, exactly.
Which almost makes it that much more disgusting.
Spooky
because
as hell.
When one of those zombies reaches into Maynard's wife's stomach and pulls out what is literally a piece of liver
guts. Yeah.
and starts eating it, like you can tell, and it was nauseating.
Yeah,
and that's what our 4 leads find, and they're like, "Fuck!
right.
Let's get the fuck out of here!"
They
get
drive
in the
into
car.
the jungle. They accidentally crash the car.
because a zombie comes out. They hit the zombie.
The
dude
veer
freaks
off.
out. Yeah, veers off.
The radiator's screwed.
Yep.
Also, at that point, Peter, of course, twists his ankle, and they are all trying to get through the jungle. He can't go on anymore. Anne stays with him. The other couple go to help him out. Then they lie down and they realize Susan, as they're walking through,
Susan and Brian
realize that they're in a graveyard of the
conquistadores.
Yeah, the way that Brian
Well, they find
pronounced
a
it.
conquistador helmet.
Yes.
And then she looks around and they're in the middle of a graveyard.
Oh, and then all of the hands start coming out.
Well, no, but first, before that, we cut back to Anne and Peter.
Yeah, and they're laying on the ground.
making out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this hand just comes out, slowly out of the ground while they're making out, grabs Anne by the hair and pulls her. She screams. And that's when they turn around and, like, all of these things are starting to come out of the grave.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool.
And when Brian runs back, he leaves Susan alone, and he tries to rescue the other two. While that's happening, we get Man Mountain fucking Conquistador.
Maggot Worm Eye.
Holy shit.
Oh.
That dude was, first of all, gigantic.
Yeah.
And it was just shot so creepily. You know, it shows the POV of him.
Yep, coming out.
Staring down
and there's just
at her.
maggots falling from his and worms.
Like
It's
worm eye.
So
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And he reaches down and he just bites Susan in the throat.
Throat is out.
And it is gory as fuck.
There is bones coming out of that.
It's
There's
so
just
awesome.
Oh, it's gross.
And then Brian comes back, sees it, picks up a cross, like a grave marker cross,
Right.
and slams that zombie in the head and cuts its head in half.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like it just sort of opens, and we just see this like ooey gooey gross brain.
Yeah.
Oh,
They do
it's
some
so weird.
really
and
good
at
stuff.
this moment is when I went, oh, Brian is in a Daily Planet t-shirt.
Yeah. How did we not notice
Yeah.
that before that moment?
It's so weird.
Weird. And
But man, that rising from the grave sequence
And
lasts
then-
a while,
and
but
then
it
after-
is fucking gorgeous.
even after they start on their way back towards the doctor's area, there are more zombies rising from
Yep.
the grave, and there's this freaking cool shot where, like, in the mid-ground there's a zombie coming up, then in the background you can see zombies walking towards the camera, and then right in the foreground you can tell, of course, there's going to be another zombie, and that zombie comes up, and the use of focus
And levels.
and levels
of
is
like who is
so
standing,
good.
who is rising,
Yeah.
and who is like in process of getting up.
It's so haunting.
Yeah.
Sun is setting. Sun is set. They get to it's a
That's-
converted church that
That's
is
Maynard's hospital.
Maynard's hospital.
In this moment, before
Yes.
they get there, Maynard is sort of talking to a friend of his who is dying.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just that cool... I forget moments like this in movies are really great because all of a sudden you just hear flies buzzing. And it doesn't last very long, but it's long enough to remind you that it stinks and it's gross.
Speaking of that, real quick, rewinding all the way back to the beginning on
Nope.
the boat.
You're not allowed to.
I just did it.
Oh!
It was such a great detail because it was the Coast Guard that had gone down and who got attacked by the zombie. Before he got attacked, he went down, and normally, and we've seen this in different movies, I think Ben
Ben
covers
did
his
it.
mouth
Yeah.
with a handkerchief.
Uh-huh.
And in this moment, the Coast Guard guy puts his fingers up to his eyes. And have you ever smelled something that made your eyes water
Burn?
or eyes
Yeah,
burn?
absolutely.
That was a fascinating little detail.
Yeah.
Loved it.
It was really great.
It builds the world just as the flies and just these little tiny the moans in the background. They do who did the music in this?
Fabio Frizzi.
Fabio Frizzi uses moans in the scoring.
Yes.
in certain parts, and that is
cool.
so cool.
So cool.
Oh,
At this point,
it's the last stand,
it's
kind
kind
of.
like Last Stand.
They rush up to the
Maynard. Oh no, zombies are coming.
and
oh,
this
shit.
is the point where we get a whole bunch of those zoom into the faces of the zombies coming towards
at them. And there's this great moment where Maynard's like, oh fuck, okay. He turns around, they're starting to get ready.
Yep.
Maynard turns around, runs into a room, grabs something like
extra guns,
and
or
then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere,
his
that
friend jumps and
just
takes a
rips his face
Rawr.
off.
Yeah.
And that was fucking great. And then there's the moment where Ronda Rousey and Black Dom DeLuise
Yep.
are
Loading
making
Molotov cocktails. Yes.
And this is where I think they're kind of dumb. It's like, this room is filled with zombie body bags.
Yeah,
And no one's
yeah.
shot them in the head.
God
so, like,
damn.
one of those body bags comes up, and, like, Black Dom
Black
DeLuise
Dom
gets
DeLuise,
bit.
yep.
And Ronda Rousey sees this and freaks out.
Yeah.
I love this moment because she is so paralyzed with fear.
Frozen.
That she can't move. And I thought the actress did a particularly good job. The actress Stefania DiMario, who's only really done a couple of other things. She was in a movie called Flying Sex, where she was like,
Sure.
like a stewardess, and then she was in a movie called Cyclone. Who actually, weirdly, I found this Mrs. Maynard was also in that same movie.
No way.
Yeah, weirdly.
Fun.
But she's great in this moment because the fear is so paralyzing that she can't move. And I actually really bought like her performance.
I did too.
And she gets attacked, and then they start like,
Well, they save her, but then she gets attacked by Dom DeLuise,
yes,
Black Dom DeLuise, because they didn't kill him.
yes,
They are bad at being thorough.
that's exactly right. They're throwing all of the.
Although I don't know if they know the rules. That's the other thing, is I think that in Dawn and Night, I think they kind of figure out the rules and they have a moment to do that. I don't think they've not really killed many other people,
but the
and they haven't really told
the
anybody.
Nurse knows. And
That's
so does
true.
Black
That's
Dom DeLuise. Like,
very
they
true.
both know.
They know the process.
Yes.
You're absolutely
They've
right.
been there
That's
the whole time.
no excuse. The excuse for the four. For the main
four,
four.
sure, perhaps. But I feel like they figure out at a certain point that you have to shoot them in the head.
Oh, sure they do.
Or beat them in the head, because at a certain point, that's all they do is shoot and beat in the head.
True.
They stop going for body shots. So,
Right.
like, at a certain point, they know.
You're right.
They start throwing the Molotov cocktails inside the building that they're in.
Brilliant.
So yet another way where they're kind of dumb.
And they don't back up against any wall.
Yeah, they're just sort of in the middle where there's like 5 open doorways.
And windows that are
windows that
reachable.
Yeah. They run outside. They fight like the
Out the
building,
back,
Out
yeah.
the back. Building starts to fall down. They get out the back, and
Then
I
they're
thought this
surrounded
was
on the other side.
They fight through those zombies,
Yep.
shooting them in the head, butting
Right.
them with the guns in the face. All of a sudden, Brian turns around at this corner, and boom, he's face to face with Zombie Susan.
It's a Johnny moment.
Yeah. It was great.
This is, if you don't know what I'm referring to,
Yes.
in Night of the Living Dead,
Both versions.
both of the
one
good
and-
versions, because we are
Actually,
introduced.
it's in all 3 versions.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in all 3 versions, Johnny is a pretentious guy who wears driving gloves.
Yep.
And that is established at the beginning. Therefore, we can identify him as a zombie at the very end.
Right.
Which
Barbara has to come to terms with
means,
finding her brother.
yes, which means she has to fight a representation of her loved one that
Yes.
is dead, which is sort of insidious. If
Yes.
they were more thoughtful, it would make it very evil. It's like using your loved one and possessing them as
Totally.
a demon or something. And so he gets bit by her.
Well, there's actually a great moment, I think, before he bites her. He kind of stares at her, and he's like, Peter, shoot her.
Yeah.
And then he gets bit by her.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was a real fascinating moment where he realized that she had to die.
Yeah.
Well, she had to be put down because she's already dead.
Right.
But also he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that was a cool moment
Yeah.
of, I
Like,
can't do this, but
This
you
is
have to
going to
do
be
this.
too difficult.
He gets bit. They make it out to the boat.
Yep. It's finally they've escaped all of it.
All of it. And Brian slowly is dying.
Yeah, and they decide, you know what, we're going to put him down below. We're going to make
just
it,
in case, like...
Well, their explanation is that they are going to seem insane if they don't have proof.
When they go back
to New York, right.
Yeah, they're going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So they turn on the radio.
Let's get some tunes going.
Let's find out what's going on. Let's see what we can do. They turn on the radio, and it's a news report where it's like, New York's being overrun by zombies. Ever since that first zombie came on shore, everyone in New York is turning into a zombie. There's a zombie coming into the studio now. And it's just this, like, they look at each other, and the dread just spreads across their faces.
And then you start hearing the struggling of the Brian zombie down below, and it just zooms into that.
And they know they are fucked.
Ugh, what are they going to do? Cut to the fucking Brooklyn Bridge, I think.
Yep, and zombies just walking across the Brooklyn Bridge.
Ugh.
And that's how the movie ends.
Yeah.
Credits. So, did you like this one?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For completely different reasons from Dawn and Night. I think this was viscerally different.
Yes.
I think this was more driven by the horror rather than the leads.
Yes.
I think because the other movies focus on humanity and I think this is more of a monster movie than a character-driven study.
Totally. I see what you're getting at. I'm picking up when you're throwing down.
The characters are just... I'm not saying that they're not developed, but I think they are less developed, and the lore is more developed in this.
Yeah.
Rather than the lore just existing in the world.
Yes, I can see what you're saying.
I think they focus more on that whole deal.
Man. And I also want to say, too, speaking of this movie, like, I feel like it flies by in a way that's like... It is.
Well, it clips. It's really it really goes. They take their time in certain places, but that time is not empty.
Yeah.
At all. Oh, one thing to note that, and we've noted it on many other episodes of this, mainly Italian movies. They do the dubbing thing.
They do the dubbing thing, which you despise.
No, listen, I think it's a fascinating trope. It's an interesting way to do things, and I guess I get it. It's where, breaking it down, it's where everybody in the cast may be cast from other countries. They all essentially speak their own language, or they pronounce it phonetically or something to that effect,
right.
But it is all ADR'd in post in whatever language they want. And I wanted to christen this the Italian dub job.
The Italian dub job.
So in the future, we will refer to this as the Italian dub job.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, no, I said it.
You did it.
And that's how it's going to live.
Boy, oh boy.
But that's the movie. I mean, do you have any other interesting facts?
Yeah, a couple of things that I just want to point out. Number one, that this is... We talk about it a little bit as a sequel to Dawn of the Dead, and it's one of those sequels where it really is not a sequel. It's a little unfair to call this a sequel to Dawn of the Dead because it was actually written before Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, it was.
And it was a movie that was completely being filmed by Fulci.
Oh, okay.
Called Zombie, and it was just because of the success of Zombie that they went ahead and called this Zombie 2 so they can capitalize.
Okay.
Which is interesting because this did spawn a couple sequels of its own.
Okay.
One is called Zombie 3.
Yeah.
And it's weird because in the US it's just, this is Zombie.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Zombie 3. Right? Zombie 3 was filmed by Lucio Fulci for the most part, but he got really, really, really sick during filming.
Oh, jeez.
And his co-writer, a man named Claudio Fragasso, went ahead and basically finished Zombie 3.
Oh, okay.
Claudio Fragasso went ahead and made Zombie 4, which is called Zombie 4 After Death.
Ooh.
In the US.
All of this was after death.
I know, right? In the US, it's called Zombie 4 After Death.
Sure.
And then depending on what region you're in, there was also like a Zombie 5 called Killing Birds, a Zombie 6 called Monster Hunter, a Zombie 7 called Zombie 90, there's a Zombie 8, a Zombie 9, a Zombie 10,
no.
11, 12, 13,
you serious?
And 14, depending on what region you're in.
What?
Some of the fun stuff is like, some of these are like Night of the Seagulls, Kung Fu Zombie, the insane oily freak, aka the oily maniac, right? It just sort of depends on where you're at.
Oh my God.
But Claudio Fragasso is probably most known for making a little movie called Troll 2, which is one of the worst movies ever made.
Can we do that one time?
Oh, yeah, I love Troll 2.
Let's do that.
I've seen Troll 2, like, actually, no shit, I showed Troll 2 in my playwriting class as an example of everything that you shouldn't do.
Wow.
But here's the interesting thing about Troll 2. I'm just going to throw this out there. Troll 2, the original Troll, has nothing to do with Troll 2.
No.
It's just that somebody wanted to capitalize on the success of Troll, which I think is it's interesting because that's exactly what happened with this.
And there's not even trolls. It's goblins in the second one. It's very weird.
In the original Troll, do you know the name of the protagonist?
No.
Harry Potter Sr. and Harry Potter Jr.
Shut up.
Isn't that fun?
I forgot that.
Yeah. So there's like a little bit of a branching out, right?
Yes.
I think it becomes super fascinating as these things start to branch out.
Yeah. Well, they have less and less to do with each other, but it evolves the lore in a completely different way.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, on that note, are there any things in this movie you'd like to steal? Because I feel
a ton. I think that I would love to do I wouldn't want to duplicate the shark attack, but I would want to do anything underwater that you can do well and do interestingly would be very cool, I think. I think that staying on gore or the suspense of gore, you can even cut from gore, but I think that suspense of the anticipation of horribleness is great. And
that shot of the door.
Oh, the door. Using light in a creepy ass way would be very cool. How about you?
I agree with all of those. I also love that the first gore shot is 20 seconds in. So like, in case you didn't know what you were getting in this movie, you fucking know.
Kablamo.
The zombie versus shark. The scene with the hand coming in while the woman is showering.
Yeah, that rack focus is beautiful.
So good. The use of real bugs is disgusting.
I hate it.
In a way that if you are trying to create a disgusting atmosphere, boom.
Just put it right in there.
Yeah.
Just lay them right down.
It's so disgusting.
Yeah, and you can get them at your pet shop.
Well, and that's the thing is, it's like, if you really think about that, probably costs a few pennies.
Yeah.
And it creates an atmosphere that is just fucking
look at the ring with the box of... What was it? No, it was millipedes, wasn't it?
Something, I think so.
Something, cockroaches, millipedes, something.
I don't know.
It's been a while, but I just remember there's a scene where the box drops and it opens up and there's bugs in it. I'm like, oh, no.
It's so gross, but so effective.
Indeed.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot in this movie. And our zombie, month of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies so far.
Yes.
4 of them are just... incredible. They're
amazing.
All like 4 huge winners.
Yes.
Which leads us to next week.
Yes, sir.
Which would be, I think, personally, winner number 5.
Ooh.
We are going to extend our Zomvember. Is that what we called it?
Zomvember, yes.
We're expending Shocktober 2 weeks into Zomvember now with Return of the Living Dead.
Yes, sir. I am so excited.
Me too.
I remember seeing this a long time ago, and it is hilariously different.
Yes.
The tone is all
totally.
I mean, it's almost a straightforward comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a satire.
Very
of zombie
much
films
more.
by this
Yes,
point.
absolutely.
And the interesting thing about Return of the Living Dead, so the reason we've decided to do this is we kind of wanted to hit at least one movie from each series that sort of branched off of Night of the Living Dead. So we have Night of the Living Dead, which then, of course, goes into like the day, dawn, land, survival, and then diary, right? But we also have Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Zombie 3, Zombie 4, all the way up through Zombie 14, depending on where or not you want to, like, cut that off. Because not all of those are actually... I mean, a lot of those are a movie made, and they call it Zombie 14 just to get in.
For fun.
Yeah.
For funsies.
Like, it really sort of cuts off at Zombie 4. But then we also have yet another branch series, which is Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Dead, Return of the Living Dead 2, and then Return of the Living Dead 3. We just kind of want to hit one from each of those, like, series branch-offs, because I thought it would be, we thought it would be a lot of fun.
We got to round it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, indeed. Round that zombie tree.
And then from there, we come back to canon for a few episodes.
Woohoo!
So, thank you for taking this journey with us.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, indeed. Well, I mean, really, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed this spooky time of the year. And, let's be honest, there's nothing else in November, really, to talk about. Let's stay in this wonderful Halloween spooky time.
Right, I think so.
But you can follow us. You can follow me at the AJ Hamilton on all of the things. Nicholas can be found at where?
NicholasCPappas.com.
That's
and at
correct.
NicholasCPappas on Twitter.
That's right. And you can follow us at Creating Canon on all of the things as well. CANNON. And email us, creatingcanon@gmail.com. And as always, Nick, on this spooky time, what do we say?
Good night and good canon.
Are you the Count?
No, I was trying to do Vincent Price's laugh from Thriller.
Ah, yes. So close.
So far. Are we keeping that in?
Sure.
All right. Zombie fleshy tush.
Oh.
John Goodman's out there stealing children.
No. Don't stretch yourself too thin.
Was that a fat joke?
It did start out as one.
Fucking professional. I gotta get ready. Then I'm ready. Are we in America or Italy?
Last time I checked, it was not Kansas, but it was not Italy. So,
Okay. Well, I mean, zombies straight to the point. It's like
that's true.
Dracula, Wolfman,
Sure.
Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon,
Nick
Zombie.
Pappas. You remember your biopic?
I remember.
Oh, he's glaring daggers at me. He doesn't like me right now.
No, I'm just trying to hold in a poop.
All right.
I'm a fucking professional.
You keep saying that word.